Hi, welcome once again to Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. Senior Focus comes to you a couple times each month through Armstrong's Channel 20 and 100. And thank you to Greg Roten from the Community Channel for Armstrong. We also want to thank Keith Kaiser, who allows us to use the beautiful Davis Visitor Center. And certainly if you haven't been out to the center for a while, it's a beautiful place to come to. I think they have the orchid exhibit going on now, but all year round there's something to do. We're going to be talking today with folks from the Meals on Wheels program here in Mahoning County. And specifically, they're housed in Youngstown, but they go out to around the county and they'll explain where that is. And I'll introduce at this point, to my left as you see her, is Linda Jenkins, and she's the director. And to the far left is Karen Barr, and she's a board member and also a driver. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Sure. Why don't we talk about, if we can, we can start at the sort of the beginning of the program, maybe the history. I know Meals on Wheels goes back many, many years, I think 60 years in America, but when did Meals on Wheels start here?
Meals on Wheels generated in Youngstown back in, I think, in the 60s. Mm-hmm. They were first located up on Oak Hill Avenue in a little church. And from there, they moved to John Knox Presbyterian Church, which was located on the corner of Market Street and Dellison, which has since been torn down. The church has been torn down. And moved over to where our current location at 1840 Market Street. We are housed on the lower level of the Calvary Tower Senior Citizen Complex there on the corner of Market and Warren Avenue in Youngstown, Ohio.
So you're not too far from where you were before, just sort of
next door.
Next door, yeah.
Yes.
And that was last year?
That was last year. We've it'll be February, this month actually, is our first full year being in our new location.
And I'm sure there was a lot of work involved in the change or the move. Can you describe a little bit about what you had to do to get ready with the new location? What did you put in a kitchen, or I mean, what were some?
In our new location, it was a storage room for the Calvary Towers. It was just an empty shell, and we had to actually go in and with an architect and draw up plans and to redo the entire, ground floor. We put in a brand new state-of-the-art kitchen, a work area, a place for our drivers, and offices and restrooms. Complete, everything brand new.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Karen, you've been with the organization how long? How far
Maybe
back?
about 6 years or so.
Okay, so you go back to the John Knox days.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, they're at the...
And did you start as a driver? Was that?
Yes. Well, actually, my husband started off as a driver.
Okay.
He retired. I got him out doing things. And then I would substitute, and I became a driver. I still basically substitute for him. And then I expressed my opinions once too often and ended up becoming on the board. So
it was a case of you got some good ideas, so why don't you join the board kind of thing?
yeah.
Is that a nice way of putting it?
That's a nice way of putting it, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about your, I guess, staff. I mean, there's yourself, Linda, right?
Yes.
And is there, there's
It's
really no
only
other paid staff, or is it?
There's a staff of 3 individuals that work, daily with myself.
Okay.
But we have a staff with our volunteers of over 35, our drivers. So they're a part of our staff also.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, that's you couldn't do it without the volunteers,
Absolutely.
obviously.
There would be no Meals on Wheels without our volunteers.
And I think that's one of the main reasons we're here today talking about Meals on Wheels. If you want to describe what you're looking for as far as volunteers, and this would be a good time, and we'll repeat this later, for how people can contact you.
We're looking for volunteer drivers to deliver our meals, to our participants. Most of our drivers are senior citizens themselves. So once they, finish work, they find something to do and, they call and they volunteer. We don't take that term volunteer lightly because they are a very important part to Meals on Wheels. Sometimes our clients, they see no one until they see that driver. So it's familiar face, to them. They know they're bringing them, their food, and they seem to open up to the drivers. They trust them. They
Sure.
trust them, and in this day and age, that's something very important that you have good drivers who will look after, all our clients are senior citizens. I have to say that first.
Well,
I think the youngest,
I was going to ask, what's the minimum age they have to
the
be?
minimum age for our program, since we're a private program, we will take someone 50.
Okay,
Okay, 50. But our average clientele, age-wise, is roughly about 86.
oh, wow.
86 years old. I have, some of our people are 90, 95. I have one 99 years old. Still in their home, doing for themselves, and we provide them a home-cooked meal. And that's the nature of the program. We try to keep individuals in their home as long as possible,
Sure.
before they have to be, carted off to a senior citizen home. We want them to have their independence, as long as possible. And with that meal coming to them, once a day, that keeps them, going. It keeps them in their home. It's a nutritious meal, and it's just an awesome program.
Yeah,
Awesome program.
and we've had a number of different agencies on Senior Focus with, pretty much that's the goal, is to increase the independence of seniors. And there are two main reasons for that. One is that's what seniors want. I think we'd all want to stay at our own location, our own home or apartment. The other thing is it saves so much money for society overall. If any of you know about moving into either assisted living or nursing homes, the cost of that. And obviously, if a person could stay at home and receive services there, it's much more cost effective.
Absolutely.
So, now, Karen, you were talking about something that happened recently, speaking of drivers. Again, your husband works as a driver?
Yes, my husband works as a driver, and a week or two ago, back when it was very icy, he went to a home, and well, the drivers get to know the patterns of the people. They can tell when something is wrong, because when this lady was not waiting for him on the porch, he knew that that's just not. So he looked around, and she was lying on the floor in the kitchen. She had gone outside and slipped on the ice, and she managed to crawl inside. And then so he went in, she trusts him, and he saw that her daughter's name was written on a blackboard there, or some sort of a board. So he called, and then he called 911, and the family was notified, and then he waited and then locked up the house,
Right.
just after that. And the family member called us at home that evening to give an update on what had happened to her, because I guess he told him that when he called.
Right. So that's a perfect example of not only, bringing a meal out, and again, Linda, you were talking about sort of, communicating and talking with folks and, giving some social time, and a friendly kind of a visit, but in this case, maybe life-saving.
And also, a few years ago, I was delivering, and we took a meal to a lady, and I guess a family member had set this up for her, because she answered the door and she was very confused. She was wearing a bathrobe, and what's this about? And her house was okay, it was not bad. And I told her, gave it to her. Well, then a few weeks later I went back. The same woman was at the door, dressed, makeup on, house completely impeccable, and asked if I could carry the meal into the kitchen. I mean, she's certainly capable of doing it, but
Right.
so you can walk and talk and comment on pictures or artifacts or whatever, but the transformation in her was just incredible, just because she was seeing somebody.
Right, that gave
Daily.
her almost a reason to live.
Yes.
In a way, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, again, if people are interested in receiving the meal program, what do they have to do? What are some of the steps they have to
They
take?
simply call our office, and we take applications over the phone.
Okay.
We run no credit checks, or we send out no social workers. Everything is done on a phone call.
Okay.
Phone call. And we get phone calls from referrals from the hospitals, nursing homes, from the individual themselves, from churches, from everybody. And once we get that information, we just simply take basic information, name, address, phone number, emergency contact person, and a couple other pieces of information, private information that we need. And we simply start the meals. It's all done on a honor system. We do no credit checks, no background checks. It's all done on an honor system.
Okay. Now, I don't know if we mentioned this, the exact areas that you go to, but it's probably a good idea to let people know.
We service the Youngstown area, Struthers, Austintown. We have 2 routes in Boardman, Canfield, and Poland. Yes.
Which is quite a bit of the audience.
Yes.
Because Armstrong goes out to all those locations, I believe. Now, would you be willing to go to other places if you had drivers? Is that one of the issues maybe?
If we had the drivers, we would probably expand our territory, yes. Right, we would have the option to do that.
Okay.
But it's, pretty difficult when you don't have, and we have gotten calls from people in Lowellville,
Right.
areas like that. Further out in Canfield, we have a boundary there in Canfield that we have to stop at. And we've gotten calls from other areas, but if, we don't have the drivers, then of course we can't, we can't service them. So I'm not going to say it hinders us, but it slows us down a little,
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have an idea of how many folks are getting a daily meal?
We service now 100 people a day.
Oh, okay. I didn't
100
realize
people a
that.
day, yes.
And so the meals, are they made actually on site?
Their meals are made on site right there at 1840 Market Street. We're there Monday through Fridays, and we prepare the meals there. That's where the drivers pick up the meals, and that's where they, they're dispersed from, yes.
Now, Karen, with your experience as a driver, and again with your husband, are you using your own vehicle then? Is that how that works?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we are.
And like I have a hatchback sort of situation, so is there any type of vehicle that's better than, but you'll take, I guess, anybody who has a car, is that?
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I drive a
Yes.
Ford Fiesta. I mean, it's real tiny, and I just figure out a way to work it in and
So I guess they
grab
don't
from
take,
here, grab from there.
yeah, they don't take up too much space.
No, we provide the cases that the meals are, put in to keep them warm, and also a case to keep their cold pack cold, so the
Okay.
drivers don't have to, bother with boxes or bringing in anything, to haul the meals. We provide all that, and they just simply put them in their trunks or the back seats, and they're off.
Now, what are, again, a sample type meal? I mean, I know it varies every day, but do you have a regular rotation of the meals, or how does
Yes,
that
we
work?
do, and we serve no leftovers, number one. And a
Okay.
sample meal today that was prepared, roast beef, mashed potatoes, and green beans, red velvet cake. They get their dinner roll, their butter, and they also get their beverage.
Okay.
Right. We serve diabetics, if someone's a diabetic. We serve renal patients, someone who's a renal patient.
Okay.
So we substitute. If there's something they can't eat, then of course we, prepare, right, what they can. So
And-
that's a typical meal, for the day. And we serve, just if you would go to, one of your famous restaurants, am I allowed to say, like,
Oh, sure.
okay, Bob Evans or,
Yeah.
anywhere, wherever you would
similar
sit
to
down.
something
It's
like
similar
that,
to
yeah.
that, yes.
Only it's delivered to you.
It's delivered to them. And when they get that meal is hot, ready for them to sit down and eat.
Okay. And what would be the cost for the meals?
The meals are $6.75 a day.
Okay.
And I tell you, you can't eat anywhere for $6.75 and receive a full course meal.
Now, do people pay on like a weekly basis or monthly, or how does that
They
work?
pay on a monthly basis. At the end of every month is billing. I send out a billing statement, and they have 10 days until the following month, to pay their account. Because most of the recipients are on Social Security, some form of, government aid, and they get their checks all around, the first of the month.
beginning,
So we give them 10 days until the following month to pay their account.
Have you had folks that have been clients, I guess, for a long time?
Well, I've been there 10 years, and I still have some people that were on prior to me coming that are still on.
Okay.
And people, when I came there to work, they're still on. So, I have some folks that have been on for at least 10, 12 years.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good. And
Right.
and again, the whole point of this, as we're talking with folks from Meals on Wheels, is to maintain independence, maintain the dignity of living in your own home.
Absolutely.
And again, Karen, are there some, you mentioned some of the situations that have come up, but can you think of some of the people again and their responses when they see the driver or the person coming? I'm sure some friendships form. Yeah?
Oh, yeah, I got, a friend of mine had an elderly mother, and she said that's the high point of her day, really, to see what the meal is. Oh, yes, friendships. There was another person who, she since died, but she had a cat that she was having a hard time caring for, so actually I rigged up something for her to make it easier to clean the litter
okay.
box for her. Just little things, and it doesn't take much time. It's no burden to any of the drivers. Of course, some people just, their hand comes out the door and you give them the food and that's it, and they don't want any more. But most of them are very, very friendly, and sometimes you get to know some of the family members about this.
Can you describe a daily route, I guess, what a driver, so if somebody's out there, and we hope somebody's out there maybe would want to volunteer, what would they expect?
Well, first of all, the containers that we get for the food, there's this sort of it looks like a picnic cooler, but a high-grade one, and it keeps the food hot, and it really does. And these came from a grant from the Youngstown Foundation.
Oh, good,
And
okay.
their Board of Health had to approve all this, and they are approved. And you pick up the hot meals and you put them there, and then the beverage and the other stuff goes into another one that keeps it cold.
Cool, yeah.
And each driver is assigned a container. So you pick up your meal, and then you usually, the routes are assigned so that you can just work them out on your way home. They're not, if you're living they're not going to take someone who lives in Struthers and have them deliver to Canfield.
Right, so you deliver sort of in your own town,
Right.
your area.
And
Exactly.
you deliver the meals and you work out the route as best that you can for yourself and to work your way to get yourself home. And then you do not need to return the containers because all drivers are assigned them. So you just keep
Okay.
them, and then when you come back, and most drivers do one morning a week, right?
Okay,
Yes.
And
All right.
you bring your container with you, so you don't have to go back down to the place to return the containers.
until the next time you
Right.
volunteer, yeah.
But you just work out your route, and that's it. They're usually done by about noon. We pick them up around 10:30, and you're usually done at about noon.
And I think, Linda, you mentioned there were about 100 clients.
Yes.
Approximately, and maybe I missed it, but how many drivers or volunteers would you have?
We have currently 35
35.
on
okay.
rolls, but we don't use 35 a day,
Right.
because we have our, routes broken up where we just use 9 drivers a day. And, I can't say enough about the drivers. We have our drivers from we have retired school teachers, policemen. I have retired physicians,
Okay,
registered nurses. You name it, we have people from all walks of life who give up just an hour, an hour a day to make someone else's day.
so again, at this point, why don't we give out your contact information, if somebody was interested in being a volunteer, again, where would they call and what's the start of the process?
If you're interested in being a volunteer, you can call 330-744-3583. Either myself, Linda Jenkins, or Patricia Klinkskill will take all the necessary information and will bring you on board.
Mm-hmm. And the volunteers, again, a lot of them, I guess, stay for quite a while. I mean, do you have people who've been there for many years?
We have volunteers who've been there for several years, and then we have a turnover, People leave for different reasons. We've had, drivers move out of state, had some move out of country, and some, like I said at the beginning, some of them are senior citizens themselves, and some of them get to the point where they just can't, deliver meals anymore, and they've become clients,
Oh, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, they leave for many different reasons, So we don't have a big turnover, but we have a turnover enough where I'm always pleading for drivers. We have some drivers who go on vacation for the winter, and they go south for the winter because of the weather. So that leaves a void, maybe in a route, and I have to hustle around and find another driver. But for the most, our drivers are fantastic.
Now, Linda had mentioned that there was a grant from, I think, the Community Foundation? Is that right?
Youngstown
Okay.
Foundation.
Youngstown Foundation, I'm sorry. Do you have, can you describe, I guess, some of the funding? I guess a lot of it would come through the meals themselves, right?
Yes.
People paying, but
Yes.
do you have other funds that come in?
We receive no government or federal funds.
Okay.
All our funds are private donations, and like Karen said, from Youngstown Foundation or Home Savings and Loans Foundation, we will write small grants for, different things that we need. But we receive no federal funds, no government funds, and primarily our program is run by our clients for what they pay for their meals. That's, that pays for the program.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about with the renovations last year? Was there any help with that? Or?
With the renovations, we had I'm not going to say a fundraiser, we literally begged for money.
Well, yeah.
That's what it is. And we were just blessed to receive money from the city of Youngstown and different small grants. But the city of Youngstown truly came through for Meals on Wheels, and that's why we are in our new location.
And again, it's probably a good time to repeat the location if people are interested.
Again, the location is at 1840 Market Street. We're on the lower level of Calvary Towers. And if anyone wants to come in and just take a tour of our location, feel free to call me at 330-744-3583, and we'll set that up for you.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a driver, and I'm just thinking about this myself, if I were a volunteer, is there something that, like on the cost of the gas, is that something that's on your taxes that you can list on your taxes to get some kind of a tax break? Because
on your personal taxes, you can
Right.
claim, your mileage and, be reimbursed through IRS.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, which is very seldom, will send in $1,000 worth of gas cards.
Oh, okay.
And we pass them out, to our drivers. So we've had, instances like that.
Well, and so I'm just throwing that out to the folks who may be watching. I mean, there are many ways, again, that you might be able to take advantage of this particular show. I mean, one would be if you know someone who needs a meal, obviously you can call the 744-3583 number. But also, if you have some time yourself and you want to volunteer to help distribute the meals. But the last one was a good idea. If you just happen to be, in the giving mood.
Yes.
Certainly the drivers would appreciate
Absolutely.
assistance with the gas.
Yes.
Now, this is part of the Meals on Wheels of the Mahoning County. Is that
Yes.
it? Meals on Wheels of Mahoning County is part of a nationwide effort.
Yes, yes.
And you just want to talk briefly about that?
Well, we are part of the National Meals on Wheels organization.
Mm-hmm.
We do different fundraisers with them. Last year, we done what we called March for Meals, and we had the mayors of each city, Stamera, Struthers, Austintown, Youngstown. They came in and spent a day with us and delivered meals.
Yeah,
That was a way for them to get to know their, population,
Sure.
and also it was a big help to us.
Mhm. And, Karen, again, with your experience both as a driver and now on the board, is there anything that you'd like to tell people to encourage them to, maybe volunteer?
Oh, it is so rewarding. It really is. When you see what turns out to be, for you, a relatively small investment of time, and when you see what it does for people's lives, it's just very rewarding to do.
I could imagine, again, if the average age is somewhere in the 80s, maybe
Yes.
mid-80s, that people would be very happy to see you. Whether they sort of welcome you into their home or just sort of greet you at the door, either way, I'm sure they're very happy to.
Well, some of them, I think they play little mental games with themselves, that they try to memorize the names of each driver. I mean, some of them don't care at all, but there are some I will come and and I know this lady's in her 90s, and my husband's name is John. Says, well, hello, Karen, where is John today? Is he teaching? He substitute teaches, and different things like that. And then I saw one man, I brought his meal in, and on his calendar, he had written down the name of every driver for that day of the week, so he could stand up at the door and greet them by name.
Well, that's really nice. I mean,
Yes.
again, that shows that, the program has made a great effect for them. And again, it's a sense of dignity, I guess, that somebody cares about me and cares to come to my house every day, and they want to respond kindly, I guess,
Yes.
to the,
It gives them a chance to give also. And you'll see sometimes, some of them just, they want to reciprocate somehow.
Sure.
And it's
Right.
really nice. And
maybe a cup of tea or something like
Right.
that.
Well, we have one who, every holiday, he sends a box of candy
Oh,
to
very
the
nice.
office and give, the drivers a box of candy. So they really appreciate the program, they appreciate their drivers, and our goal is, we want no senior to go hungry, If we can provide the service, that's what we're going to do.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. We've been talking with Linda Jenkins and Karen Barr. They're both from the Meals on Wheels of Mahoning County, and they could be reached at 330-744-3583. You've been watching Senior Focus. We come to you a couple times each month through Channel 20 and Channel 100 on Armstrong Cable. Thank you to Greg Roten, who also puts the shows up on YouTube if you happen to miss them, or it's also on OnDemand on Armstrong. You can check out prior shows. We also want to thank Keith Kaiser from the Mill Creek Metro Parks to allow us to use the Davis Visitor Center for the show. And thanks to you especially for watching. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Armstrong Local Programming features our community like no one else. Meet your friends and neighbors at special events. Find the perfect pet. Celebrate our region's rich history or enjoy our natural wonders. Armstrong Local Programming is available online, on demand, and on your local Armstrong channel. Find the complete program schedule at ArmstrongOneWire.com. Local programming, exclusively from Armstrong. One Wire, infinite possibilities.